Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. My name is Matt Connor, here with Adam Best on a Week 12 Sunday noon game. What the 2010s going on here? Adam, how you feeling?
It's always weird when the Chiefs are playing at this noon spot.
It's crazy.
Of course, for us Central folks, it seems like they've earned their way out of it, where they either need to be at the 3:30 spot with less games or prime time. Yep. But it is what it is.
I almost wanted to say, Adam, how you feeling about this game? Because he's playing today. Ooh. We'll get to all this in just a second. Folks,
he's about my age, too.
The Chiefs are on the road, second consecutive week, this time against the Carolina Panthers. Coming off of, obviously, a big game that really seemed to expose some weaknesses for them. The Panthers coming in very, very differently, by the way. A win streak, folks. A win streak in Carolina. Is a big deal already. Bryce Young's playing his best football. Let that mean whatever it will for you. And they're coming off the bye. So they're fresh. They're rested. We'll get into all the particulars here in just a second. But both teams are coming in at least a little bit interesting. We'll talk about all this in a second. But from the start, just want to give a shout out to all of you. Anyone who's hanging out with us, if you're reading our stuff on Arrowhead Addict, listening to our stuff on your favorite podcast app, watching us on YouTube or any other silly streaming place. We just appreciate all of you here in Chiefs Kingdom, ever spending time with us, with Sterling, with Patrick, with Bryce, with Christian, anyone around here. Thanks so much. And it's always a pleasure to interact with you all as Chiefs fans. By the way, one of our members here, Joe Thibert, says he has a member message. Please say hello to my beautiful wife, Char, and our 4-year-old daughter, Kelsey, of course, named after the 2019 Super Bowl. Also, my son, Drake, who won running back of the week and month. Man, what a great family. Sounds like a great family. He had over 12 yards of carry. That's like, even Jamal is like, holy hell, man. All right. Go Drake. So, yeah, shout out to your whole family, Joe and Char and Kelsey and Drake. Certainly hope we're all celebrating together today. Adam, give me your original thoughts on Chiefs v. Panthers, the overview.
It's kind of a hard game to get up for. I doubt the Chiefs will feel that way because they're going to want to get off the schneid and set things right. I think the Chiefs are like past the point where they feel they need to send a message to the league. They're kind of being underestimated again. And I don't think they mind that. But the Panthers seem like a well-coached football team that doesn't have a lot of talent. And Dave Canales, their head coach, their new head coach, is a bit of a quarterback whisperer. We saw this with Geno Smith in Seattle. We saw it with Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. Now he's working with Bryce Young. I think we're seeing a little bit of a more confident, more capable Bryce Young. I haven't watched a ton of their games, but I watch the red zone. I kind of flip around. From what I've seen from him lately, he seems like he's running more. He seems like he's in a space where he's willing to take more shots. He just seems more accurate. Maybe the game is slowing down for Bryce Young a little bit. I think probably coming out of Alabama, there was a bit of a rude awakening. You know, you're not playing with superior talent every week. You're not throwing to these guys who are future NFL starters. And to go from the most talent-rich college team to the most talent-poor NFL team, that had to be
the talent differential there too is not helped by just how pitiful the Panthers have been in the front office the last couple of years. You brought up the coaching aspect. I just want to mention this because Carolina doesn't get a lot of time in the spotlight. Dave Canales is a very respected young coach who's definitely dealing with an underwhelming deck of cards, if you will. He did surround himself, however, with some nice Jim Caldwell, the veteran coach, is an offensive sort of consultant there. Dom Capers, the longtime defensive coordinator in the NFL, he's on the defensive side with them. So when he came in, they even have some elder statesmen around to kind of keep them from sinking too low after a loss, to give them the bigger picture, to help in terms of getting a patient, good approach. And let's not forget, I don't know if you read this, Adam, but Brant Tillis, who was the Chiefs salary cap manager until this.
The cap whisperer.
Yeah, the cap whisperer, who did the Mahomes deal, by the way. Brant Tillis is now their assistant GM. He gave a great interview this week in The Athletic. I don't know if you read this or not, but Brant just said, look, I took this job for a reason. I think they're laying the right kind of foundation that KC had. And he even said, look, when Andy Reid first came to KC, they started 9-0, remember? And then he said, then in their next 30 games or 40 games, they were 18-26 or something. It was a long stretch where actually they lost quite a bit more than they won when you're stacking the record together. And basically he was saying, even though the Chiefs were annual playoff contenders, it took them some real time to kind of lay the proper floor, if you will, or the foundation to be able to stack winning consistently on top of it. And so, yeah, so Tillis was like, we have the pieces in place. We've got the right coaches. We're getting the talent. But you know how the Chiefs are celebrated for communicating really well between front office and coaches, that kind of thing. It takes time to build that trust. He said we are building that trust despite what our record says. And Tillis has the background to kind of follow that up with a little bit of substance or credibility, if you will. So it'll be interesting to see, even in a loss, how good they look in a loss today, and all that. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. I'm not saying they are the Detroit Lions several years back when that franchise started to turn, but that is the model. And I think that's why they jettisoned Deontay Johnson for being a malcontent. Yep. They're building culture right now. They're focused on process. And I think they want to be a frisky team down the stretch. They don't want to lay down for anybody because they're building culture. They're establishing their attitude, and they want some good vibes to carry over into 2025. And a lot of these guys on teams like this are young guys, or guys who are clinging to the league, really hungry to prove themselves and secure their living. So that's why you can't ever overlook a team like this late in the season or past the midpoint, because they do have a lot to play for, even if it doesn't seem like it when you look at it.
Let's go into the matchup itself. If you're taking a glass half empty approach, if you're just going fatalistic about the Chiefs, you're like, oh my gosh, the Bills exposed us. We're not playing our best football all year long. Injuries have plagued us. Our play calling has been suspect. Red zone woes of Mahomes is off. Kelsey's old. Worthy's a bust. Chris Jones hasn't gotten a sack in X amount. I mean, if that's your track, then there are some things about this game that can get you, which are they're on a bit of a winning streak. They're coming in. Jonathan Brooks is playing today for the first time all season long. He was the highly acclaimed rookie running back that they selected in the second round, despite coming off a major injury and having injury concerns. They took him in the second round. He's making his debut today. Adam Thielen hasn't played since week 3. He's playing today some guys are getting up here after the bye saying, hey, if I have a chance to show what I could do against the Chiefs, now's when I'm doing it. With Young playing his best football, are you remotely concerned at all about what the Panthers can do offensively against Steve Spagnuolo coming off of the performance they had against their worst game in a while against Josh Allen and the Bills?
If anything gives me pause, it's just that CB2 spot has significantly weakened the Chiefs defense. They just do not look the same without Jalen Watson.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that is necessarily what's going to happen once the playoffs arrive, but right now they just don't look like the same complete dominant unit. So a little bit, but there's a big discrepancy between Bryce Young and Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen, if Josh Allen gets you in a 3rd and 2 or a 4th and 3, just move the chains and save us some time. He's going to pick up that first down in a big game if it cost him his life. So you had to get him in a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 7 in a situation he couldn't run. Bryce Young's a bit different. You get him in 3rd and him and this Carolina team in 3rd and 3. There's not as much to worry about, but that is a underrated two-headed monster. If Jonathan Brooks is indeed 100%, they've got, and why wouldn't he be? If they're not playing for anything, they waited on him for a reason. So you've got Chuba Hubbard, who they recently extended. They really like him. He's been an efficient, really good back. And then you mix in Jonathan Brooks, perhaps the best back in this rookie class. They're probably going to try to run the ball down the Chiefs' throat. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, good luck with that, because Bijan Robinson and Derrick Henry couldn't even do that net. So I just don't know where this Carolina Panthers team goes. Xavier Legette is maybe a nice young player, but they just don't.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, the Chiefs hold, other than the Baltimore Ravens, no team is more dynamic at holding the opponent's running game to less yardage per carry. They're going to come in against the strength. I would take Spags in that battle any day. Even though, again, the Panthers have improved up front. They signed Robert Hunt to that $20 million a year deal that helped reset things. But look, no one can laugh at that, because the Chiefs themselves, Brant Tillis, the guy who helped sign Robert Hunt to that deal, was the same guy who signed Joe Thuney to that deal and said, I know how you can reset a line very well. Get that left guard, get your rock solid guy there, start building from there. So that's what they've done, and they're running very well. So good for them overall. By the way, they got a scrappy guy, Jalen Coker, who's been good, and he's actually out today. So as they get Thielen in, we're losing Coker there, who's actually a really good story. So they're not at full strength here today. Defensively, let's talk about the Panthers defensively. What are your thoughts on the Chiefs coming in? Mahomes had 2 interceptions last week. Frustrating overall day for the offense, for the most part. How do you think they're coming into a game like this?
Last week was so different. You have to look at Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills, almost like an AFC West rival at this point, because the Chiefs and them essentially play twice a year, every year. And it's been that way for almost the entirety of the Mahomes era. So they know the Chiefs very well. This team does not know the Chiefs very well. Whether it's the players or the coaching staff, they're not going to be kind of as tuned in to the tendencies of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So that's a little bit of an advantage. But really, when it comes to the Chiefs, and this will probably piss other fan bases off, but it's the self-inflicted wounds. They still can be the best team in the league on any given day. I believe once they flip the switch in the playoffs, they will be that team, but they just can't miss these opportunities. Like last week, you can really pin it on both Xavier Worthy and Patrick Mahomes. Xavier Worthy probably was too close to the sideline. Patrick Mahomes was inaccurate. Should have been a walk-in touchdown, and they just completely blew it. That's a game-altering play right there. So they can't afford – maybe this week they can afford to do that, but I would take this game as an opportunity to right the ship and capitalize on any moment. the
Yeah,
defense
I'm with
gives
you. I think this is big. I think it's big because even looking at the Panthers, you know how often you and I, when we like preview games, we'll talk about, oh man, this week they go up against one of the best pass rushers in the league, in Max Crosby, in Bosa, in whoever they're facing. We end up going, oh, they got this guy, oh, they have that guy, and because the tackles are a concern, even if they can't get by them, you can force the penalties and things like that. This Panthers team has no pass rusher worth really talking about. You have an injured Clowney, if you want to get into the weeds. You have Charles Harris, if you want to get in there. But look, this pocket should be like, it's the week that you finally wash your blue jeans, your Levi's come out. This should be the cleanest pocket the Chiefs have had all season long. If any tackle struggles with timing because Charles Harris is giving you problems up front, then it's time to talk about getting rid of the tackle, which we can get into that in just a second, by the way. But look, the Chiefs should have no problem offensively if they just trust the line to do what they will. Mahomes should pick this apart. I think the Chiefs are going to come away with 6 scoring drives today. I don't know if that's kicking and touchdowns. I don't know if it's whatever, but I think on 6 drives, you're going to come away with at least 3 points, probably 4-ish touchdowns today. It should be an offensive feasting kind of day because other than maybe a J.C. Horn, there's no one there that shocks me. I like the game of Josie Jewell. I like him. I like him he's an athletically limited linebacker who plays way better just like instinctually than he would like testing metrics like at the combine or something. I love him. I love his heart. I love the way he tackles. But other than like a couple people that I'd be like, I'd love to see that guy on the Chiefs. This is a deficient defense. This is where the talent differential really comes in for me.
Sure. And there's guys I like, Jordan Fuller at safety. There's some talent back there.
Sure.
But their pass rush is about as limited as anyone you'll come across in the league. There's just no one that scares you. Jadeveon Clowney has his moments, but he's sort of a shell of his former self. So this definitely needs to be a get-right game for the offensive line. Not just the tackles either. I thought the interior played under its talent level last week. And for Wanya Morris in particular, he has to now feel DJ Humphries breathing down his neck a little bit. So you wonder if that would be a motivational factor. I tend to think that Wanya is kind of doing everything he can. And at tackle, the experience factor is just such a big deal. But we'll see if that makes a difference.
Yeah,
in his play.
Humphries is incoming, obviously, but Morris is the man there. The Chiefs have reversed course on their tackle decision backup-wise, by the way. Kingsley Suamataia is in, as in active, and out, as in inactive, is Ethan Driscoll again. What do you make of this whole scenario, by the way? Because I like that was the big news heading into the weekend, and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about it. With Humphries reportedly coming in, gonna be the money is starter money at this point of the season. What's your take on kind of what the Chiefs are doing here?
They're just trying to find an answer. And I think when you're in the early stages of the season, you can afford to be patient with Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suamataia, especially when you start off 9-0. But now they have eyes on that third Lombardi. And they're being honest with themselves and they're self-scouting, and they're looking at particularly Kingsley Suamataia, which I think the confounding thing here with him is there was a graphic that came out this week charting how much offensive tackles have been left on an island. And you saw Kingsley Suamataia, he was left on an island as much as superstars like Lane Johnson and Tristan Wirfs. And Jawan Taylor was getting a lot more help from a guard, a back, a tight end. And Wanya Morris was getting substantially more help. And I wonder if that's a small sample size thing, but I think we have to take that in consideration when the least experienced tackle is getting the least help. That's a recipe for disaster. Some of the accountability there has to be on the shoulders of the Chiefs. But I think they haven't been confident enough in either player. And I know you can look at like PFF grade or some metrics and say, well, Wanye's been about as good as Donovan Smith. Maybe. But I don't think Patrick Mahomes trusts him as much as he trusted Donovan Smith. He's taking more sacks. His pressure to sack rate is 6% higher than it's ever been. It's usually 9, 10, 11, 12% of pressures turned to sacks. This year it's 18%. So there's something off there. There's a communication breakdown, Led Zeppelin style. There's something going on where Patrick is taking more sacks, actually, despite dropping back less than he has in previous seasons. And that can't continue because that's the kind of thing that can.
What did you think of the addition of Humphreys in particular? Like not just looking for help, but DJ Humphreys coming in.
I singled that out in March when they released him as a possibility. The Cardinals didn't do it because he's a bad player. They did it because of money, his health, and depth there. They were just in a position where they could let him go. He's only 30 years old. I think he's a better pass protector than run blocker. That's kind of what the Chiefs want at tackle. So he's a good fit. He's very experienced. And I think in the playoffs, having a guy that has some more tricks up his sleeve isn't necessarily a bad thing. Andy Heck can maybe at this point coach that person up a little bit more in a short window of time than he could. You're just not going to teach Kingsley Suamataia all the tricks and all the nuances of the position in the next 7-8 weeks.
The off-season conversation for me at left tackle is going to be very, very interesting to see what happens there. But mid-season, grabbing a Humphreys and saying, come on board, we'll figure this out the rest of the way is the best move for me. So glad to hear that. Hey, coming into a game like this, what do you expect to see? Pacheco is kind of hanging off one more week. That gives Kareem Hunt one more week as the battering ram du jour. How do you think the Panthers stack up there? What do you expect to see in the ground today?
The Chiefs are just pretty good at establishing the run. And I think one of the reasons for that, I don't want to take anything away from Kareem Hunt, but you have that rock solid interior line, which I think is the best interior offensive line in the league. And then with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins, but particularly Patrick Mahomes, teams just do not want to stack the box against the league's best player. They just don't. So that is always going to give the running game a little bit of an advantage, a little bit of room to breathe. So I think Kareem Hunt will continue doing his thing. He and Pacheco are going to complement each other quite well because Kareem Hunt, he's got no speed at this point, but all the vision, all the contact balance, great feel, great patience. And on the other hand, Pacheco is just bursty and explosive and athletic, but doesn't have some of those same intangibles that Kareem Hunt has. But they're both extremely physical backs, as is Carson Steele. None of them are going to shy away from contact. So eventually you're looking at a platoon that's going to be very – I mean, even Samaje Perine, he's a big boy. So I think it's less – you're not the Jet McKinnon, Damian Williams finesse days are gone. And it's all thunder.
It
no
is all
lightning
thunder.
now, right?
You're so right. Hey, let me throw out a few players that I'm intrigued by for today. Tell me what you think they're going to have. Tell me what you think they're going to have happen. I'm looking at Noah Gray last week, seeing 2 touchdowns, another easy catch that would have he should have had more stats even than he did. Mahomes overthrew him, and then there was the INT early. Are we going to see? Is this an increased role for him going forward? Are we going to see more and more Noah as the playoffs approach?
I believe his routes are very maxed out. I would like to see how many first look passes he gets from Mahomes, because it feels like to me Mahomes really trusts him. Outside of Kelce and probably now DeAndre Hopkins, I think he trusts Noah Gray more than any other target on the team because he goes to him in high leverage situations. You saw that last week, a huge game against maybe their biggest rival, their most talented rival. This has playoff implications for the number 1 seed. And he's going to him in the red zone. He's going to Noah Gray. And Noah Gray is, I say this often, he's always in the right place. He's always doing what you want him to do. He doesn't drop the ball. He's as consistent as you can ask a role player to be. And so he's a role player plus, but I think he's growing into something that's definitely more important to the team's recipe than he was.
I think some of the offensive frustration, the offense running through Kelsey as it does, him being a little bit slower, defenses being able to key on him a little bit easier without having to commit the resources that they do. I'm not saying he's ineffective, but it makes the offense feel slow and plodding when it's running through him right now. Looking back last week, I thought maybe this is where they start to change things internally, and a little bit less Kelsey, a little bit more Gray, and slowly those levers begin to shift over time where we look back and go, oh, the real turning point was that Buffalo game. I wonder about that.
Could be.
What about Xavier Worthy? What do you expect to see today?
Good and bad. He's still growing. A lot of young receivers, a lot of rookie receivers have breakouts during the second half of the season. So I think we're going to keep seeing slight improvements, baby steps week after week. I think some of the nuances of the wide receiver position, the sideline stuff, the being on the same page with his quarterback being Mahomes friendly, if you will. He doesn't really have a handle on all that yet. And I just don't know if that's going to come this year. But remember, at this point last year, Rashee Rice himself hadn't fully broken out. So I think that role will expand. But with DeAndre Hopkins in town and Noah Gray stepping up at the running game, looking better than it did last year, they don't need Worthy as badly as they did Rice last year. And that's especially true since we're expecting Hollywood Brown to return for the postseason. Big.
All right, give me one hot prediction for today. I was going to say hot take, but that usually means something like trollish or something. Give me a big prediction for today, and then your final score, like a player prediction, and then a game prediction.
I think, I hope, I pray we're going to see a little bit more of Joshua Uche. That sounded a little Dr. Seuss-y.
I hope, I pray.
That was not
a little more.
Yeah. We just haven't seen any of the guy, right? He just has played so few snaps, and he's such a good player. I'm hoping that at this point, Spags knows how to use him, hasn't fully integrated, because George Karlaftis is a fine player, definitely has his moments, deserves to be a starter in this league, doesn't win fast, doesn't blow up plays, not a huge pressure guy. Mike Dana doesn't look like himself this season. Is it injuries? Who knows? Charles Omenihu isn't back. Chris Jones needs some help. He's the most double-team player in the league at something like 75%. And he has the best pass rush win rate of any defensive tackle in the league, but he can't do it all by himself. He needs some help. Chris Jones has to be saying, help me, help you right now. And I think Joshua Uche is the guy that can be a bridge until Omenihu is back and playing like he's
my prediction for the game, for the player, Xavier Worthy gets his first 100-yard game today. That's what I think. I'll give him one touchdown with that. Give me as we head out of here, give us your final score prediction, Adam. What do you got?
31-13. Not a Detroit Lions style blowout, if you will, but a blowout for the Chiefs, who there seems to be an unwritten rule that every game has to, be this close and go down to the wire. I think we all need a breather here in Chiefs Kingdom. Let's boat race them a little bit and
I'm with you, 34-10. I think we have, like I said earlier, 6 scoring drives, 4 touchdowns. I think they'll get 1 touchdown a little bit early. Then I think Spags' unit will settle in. I think they're going to look good.
Defensive touchdown, maybe?
I'm for it. I would love give me a scoop and score, Nick Bolton. Give me a scoop and score. By the way, we're bound for one of those plays that make us all fall in love with Drew Tranquil again. So maybe that's the play today. Either way, anyway, we're both predicting big things. It should be big things. Hopefully at halftime, we're celebrating already. And after the game, as you join us for both, get what I'm doing here, folks, hang out with us and celebrate the big win. Hopefully we're going to be 10-1. But certainly no one here, including the Chiefs, are going to overlook the Panthers, as they say on any given Sunday. And I think for the Panthers, if there's anything to root for, I think their best football is ahead of them. I think they're in good long-term hands, all state-wise. So, yeah, for Adam, for myself, for Richard, our producer, for Chris Isaac's Wicked Game that we were singing before the show, we're I don't even know what I'm saying. Anyway, go Chiefs, and be back with us at halftime and after the game. We'll see you all later.